So if you had a significant amount of money sitting around someplace in an investment that had a large rate of return and it was looking really good, but at the same time, you really struggled to be able to do anything else in your day-to-day lifetime, that's really the challenge that would exist within having a cash flow issue versus rate of return. And that's what we're going to talk about today as part of this infinite banking concept beginner series, why cash flow is actually more important than your rate of return. To open up and get started, this is really one of the areas that's probably can hit home the most for people in today's world. The reason being is so much emphasis gets placed on rate of return in a 401k, in an IRA, a Roth IRA, something along those lines, where this money is in some sort of an investment vehicle, yet it's locked away and it can't be utilized for anything. Now, typically, if we look at the average American, that's going to be anywhere between 5% and maybe as high as 12% if we include employee match on earnings that exists, that's being tucked away for some sort of an investment. So it's this relatively small volume of money that's flowing into and through somebody's hands every year. Let's say you make $100,000 a year, that would be anywhere between $5,000 and maybe as high as $12,000 locked away, unable to use it, so that it's supposedly growing with this high rate of return. Now, I want to be clear, like, no one is saying that investment isn't important and getting a rate of return isn't important on investments. I think anybody would be silly to not acknowledge that. At the same time, it's about where does our money go first? In that example we just talked about with the average everyday person, we still have 95 to 88% of somebody's income flowing through their hands throughout a year, and it's gone forever. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about as it pertains to the infinite banking concept. We're talking about being able to recapture a larger portion of the money that's flowing through your hands and flowing it through a system that you own and control so that you're able to do more with and really generate better cash flows with what's coming through your hands. You are going to be in control of those funds as they flow into and out of your system. So that's where what I'm really getting to when I'm talking about the cash flow is much more important than the rate of return in this particular situation. Here's a simple example, right? Let's say, for example, you're able to capture 30% of your income into the infinite banking concept, or using the infinite banking concept into your system. Would you rather have a good return of, I'm just going to throw out an arbitrary number of 5% on 30% of your income? Or would you rather have a high rate of return on just 5% of your income? Like, that's kind of what we're talking about in this situation. And, you know, if we follow the principles that Nelson has laid out in Becoming Your Own Banker, we get into this situation of thinking about, for the long term, we can flow most of our income into a system that we own and control. That rate of return becomes way less important. It just simply isn't as important because we are getting a return on every dollar that flows through our hands forever. Every dollar has multiple jobs. It's death benefit, it's dividends, it's guaranteed growth, it's tax-free transfer, all these great things that happen when we implement the infinite banking concept as a core of our financial system. Now, it's important to understand we're not talking about doing this simply to get a rate of return on more of our money. That's not really it at all. It's more so that we have a way to control the flow of cash into and out of our hands over the course of a year, a lifetime, multiple lifetimes, etc. That's really what we're talking about. If we think about what banking is at its most basic level, it is the flow of money at a cost. And there is a cost, you know, Nelson says and lets us know everything in life is financed. We either give up the future interest that money could have earned for us, or we could pay interest to a third party for the use of their capital. So what we're talking about here is capitalization, meaning that capital is going to flow into our system. It is going to earn forever in a uninterrupted compounding situation due to the nature of the product we're using, which is dividend paying whole life insurance through a mutual provider. Next video, we're going to be talking about that specifically and why we use it. But again, it's about being able to control the flow of that capital at a cost. And that's what we're doing with the infinite banking concept. That's why the cash flow side of it is so much more important than the rate of return. If we are properly capitalized, we are going to have the opportunities to go do the things that generate large rates of return. What's the rate of return on deploying capital for a once in a lifetime business opportunity? What's the rate of return on that ability to finance something when it's most critically needed for a member of your family? Those are the types of things that really come to mind in these particular situations where you can't simply just measure it. Another thing would be, what's the rate of return on having capital when you need it for your small business? What if your business never had to worry about where it's going to get capital in the future? Like that's what we're talking about with being able to control the banking function, and why that cash flow is so critical, why we can control it is so critical to our long-term success. And it gives us the opportunity to go get those rates of return when and where they become applicable. So again, stay tuned. We're going to talk about in the next video why we use the specific product for the process of infinite banking, or the infinite banking concept, which is dividend paying whole life insurance through a mutual provider. So we're going to talk more explicitly about that in the next video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll talk again soon.